Even when we weren't filming, Bill was no help at all. But luckily for us, the head of the office stopped in. Your office approved this flyer.
No comment.
Is this not a state-run school?
No comment.
Taxpayers of California pay for your office to approve a flyer that compares...
Bill, call the campus police.
So nobody can comment on this flyer?
What?
Well, it's approved by this office.
That isn't accurate.
That stamp is not from your office?
That isn't accurate.
What's not accurate?
That flyer,
this is
what
your
you're
office's
intimating.
stamp. Can you at least verify that this is your stamp from this office?
I can't verify that.
So there's nobody in this office who can verify whether or not your office approved this flyer?
I can say that that was not approved.
It was not approved. So someone forged your stamp.
I can't say that. It's possible that someone had the stamp who shouldn't have had the stamp and used it inappropriately.
Okay, that's
a possibility.
You don't keep records on this?
No, because this isn't the office that reviewed posting.
Could you point me in the direction of the office that would approve posting?
We do it now. We
you do it
review
now,
materials.
but on February 9th you didn't.
I don't know that that's an accurate document with an appropriate stamp.
It says approved
I can't
February
verify
9th.
that, sir. Please leave my office.
Somebody approved this flyer. If you read these flyers, these don't sound like the flyers that a student would write. If a professor is comparing one of the students who took his class to Hitler and to suicide bombers, a student, by the way, from the Middle East, then I think that's a story. Okay, so then can you just give me the name of the person who on February 18th and February 9th approved flyers?
I don't know who had that responsibility.
So then you don't know the process.
I know the process, but I can't answer that question specifically.
Okay, well then all I'll do is just go over here and maybe they can give me information about the flyer.
I would rather you not. I don't think the person who can answer that question is there either.
Can you give me the name of the person who can answer the question?
No.
All right, so clearly Foothill College wasn't going to do anything about these flyers. But it's not always so easy to get approval for posting on college campuses. When DePaul University invited Professor Ward Churchill to speak on campus, the administration stopped a student group from posting flyers, saying that their criticism of him was nothing more than propaganda. But the flyers merely quoted Professor Churchill's own views, the same views the school was paying him to present. Ward Churchill became famous for saying that the nearly 3,000 dead on September 11th were legitimate targets and that the United States should be wiped off the map. He may sound like an extremist, but in academia he's something of a celebrity. And while Ward Churchill is raking it in on the collegiate speaking circuit, not everyone who visits campus finds it nearly as welcoming. All over the country, a small minority of students is having a huge impact.
Around the country, a number of campuses have been doing really fantastic anti-recruiter activism.
We're part of a national trend of students, of community members who are saying to get the military out of our community.
With the help of their professors, student protests are driving military recruiters off campus and are shutting down training programs like ROTC. Although the stated reason for these protests is opposition to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the policy that prevents gays from serving openly in the military, I got the feeling there was more to it than that.
I'm against the military in general.
It's a racist institution, it's a classic institution against the people that attacks in other countries, against the people that attacks in this country. We just need to focus more on demilitarization and less on the idea of queer discrimination.
How many people here marched marched against the war before it started. That has a lot to do with why we're here. We're going to put the war on trial.
It's about the issue of the U.S. military who's recruiting people to fight in the occupation of Iraq and to fight for the interest of a small minority of people in this country, which is the U.S. capitalist class.
These are the words. If you know them, sing with us.
We don't support the military. We don't support the military. We need them off the campus, out of other countries, out of our country altogether.
You've got to look at the capitalist system behind this. It's not just about the discrimination of the military. It's about the fact that the U.S. military is part of the imperialist war machine.
Military, go away! How many lives have you told today?
These peace activists aren't always so peaceful. ROTC buildings at NC State and UNC Chapel Hill were vandalized, and at UC Santa Cruz, recruiters visiting campus had their tires slashed.
Get out of our school! Get out of our school! Get out!
And at San Francisco State, a student mob stormed a campus job fair where the Army Corps of Engineers had the nerve to offer employment.
Blood is on your shoulders!
The entire job fair was shut down, affecting not only the military, but every single company that paid to be there. As the mob occupied the university building, the administration did not intervene. All right, so they oppose the war. They certainly have the right to do that. But don't the rest of the students have a right to seek employment wherever they choose? And what about the employers who paid good money to be there? A recent Supreme Court decision allows the federal government to withhold funding from schools that ban the military. But barely a month after that decision, a mob at UC Santa Cruz succeeded in driving military recruiters from campus. And while American soldiers aren't terribly welcome on campus, the people at war with them are. After the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan that followed September 11th, the official spokesman for the Taliban regime, Rahmatullah Hashemi, managed to avoid prison and instead was invited to study here in the U.S. at Yale. According to the Wall Street Journal, Hashemi had a fourth-grade education. That's not typically Yale material. And Yale's not the only school cozying up to terrorists. Columbia recently hosted a video conference featuring Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. His regime was responsible for the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. But for some reason, Columbia thought Gaddafi would be a good person to give a lecture on democracy. What's with this fetish for Middle Eastern terrorists?
In the 1970s, in the field of Middle Eastern studies, a great deal of money came in from Arab governments. Some of it came in through the Arab governments directly, also Aramco, which is the oil company and which is now in Saudi hands. The Saudi defense minister has a program named after him at Berkeley. And the notion of academic freedom doesn't exist in Saudi Arabia. Harvard has a program in contemporary Arab studies, and these are all funded from money out of the Arabian Peninsula. Georgetown Center for Contemporary Arab Study took money indiscriminately from just about every Arab government. On the day Baghdad fell, they had an outreach program. Every single speaker was an anti-war activist.
There's sympathy on the part of the leftists towards the Islamists. They both have an opposition to the United States and what it stands for.
Every radical is a potential moderate. They may be wrong to use certain methods, such as violence, but it's understandable. Why is it understandable? Because the academics sympathize with the rationale.
It's bad enough that the academics missed the problems that led to 9/11. But what's even more striking is that they're still doing it even after 9/11.
I think the attitude is the United States just can't do any good. It can do nothing right.
What the taxpayer is getting for his tens of millions of dollars is a far left analysis, full of gender, class, and race, full of anti-American vitriol, full of vitriol for the allies of the United States, and sympathy for the enemies of the United States. The United States is the problem. Whatever the issue is, the United States is the reason why things aren't going right.
With that kind of attitude about the U.S., it's no surprise that in the wake of 9/11, the American